How to control your state of mind, through self-talk. If you can truly master your emotions and control your feelings at any given time, then that's the final procedure. I'm serious. If you can do this, you will not be avoided in a fight. You get ruthless in the gym. And being able to apply yourself to a task in a way that was previously impossible. I thought your eyes were perhaps spinning at this point. You thought maybe I read a lot of hippie blogs. Maybe reading a bit too fluffy self-help. But I'm serious. Most people extremely minimize the power and influence of their feelings. So let me kick you in and then show you how to restore your state of mentality. At least to some extent. Unlimited energy, true focus, incredible creativity and social skills. It's kind of a bold headline there, and you might be weeping for something that you don't believe. But listen to me. Emotions and energy. Do you want strength? Some of the most feared warriors in history are known as the Berserkers. These Norse fighters were called out because of their berserk rage and insane indignation that they had flown on the battlefield. In this increased and excited state, they will become crucial and will also be able to engage staff with extraordinary strength. Something similar has been reported recently. Hysterical force is a term used to describe recent scenarios in which individuals seem to be able to dig into a large force of their choice. Here are the stories of mothers who lift cars from their children trapped on the stairs to enter. Also, there is a story of a climber managing himself without a giant stone, maybe 200 kilograms or more. Do you think it's fictitious? It appears that there is a solid scientific explanation for how this is possible. Under extreme stress, the body appears to produce excess amounts of testosterone, adrenaline, and cortisol. These hormones increase heart rate, focus, attention, and muscle tone, and here comes a lot of energy. In fact, it went a little deeper than that. See, we all have limitations in our energy imposed by our mind and our biology. If you are going to lift weights, you do this by recruiting small bands of muscle fibers that make up the muscles and combine to give us strength. The most muscle fiber that an average person can average at a time under normal circumstances is about 30%. The most that a highly trained athlete can recruit is close to 50%. Thus, a highly trained athlete will be able to use only about half of their maximum strength. This is what we mean by a connection to the mind muscle. Have you ever seen someone electric in a movie? Think Jurassic Park? As you know, the idea is that the individual is thrown across the room to the far wall. What throws them away? Their own muscle. Electricity causes all the muscles to come together at once, creating such a scrap that the person will completely fly. Imagine if you could use the power and use it to jump off a roof. The reason we don't have access to so much strength is that we are likely to cause damage because we can break a muscle, pull a ligament, etc. And b. strike us. If we spend too much of our muscle on a single movement, we have no energy left for nothing. But in the right circumstances, it is incredibly beneficial to be able to dive into so many strength reserves. And adrenaline and other hormones under the right conditions allow us to use that power. Studies have shown that shouting at the gym can actually increase adrenaline, thereby improving muscle fiber recruitment, resulting in strength improvements. Now imagine if you could use 80% of the power whenever you wanted. Are you just using your emotions? Feelings of calm, total focus. But there is only so far that jumping tall buildings and blowing through walls can get you. In the real world, physical strength doesn't really matter. Here the flow state is entered. A flow state is often described as a state of calm, focus, happiness. This is what happens when the world seems to change because you are so focused and engaged in what you are doing. Have you ever opened a closet and seen it all fall but move in a very fast motion to catch it? It is a state of electricity. More often, we hear about it in extreme sports. Athletes find their strength and are able to pull incredible shocks at incredible speeds. Outside of physical activities can be found in music. When the whole tape is synchronized during a clamp, it is a kind of flow state. If you have a conversation with someone that lasts all night, this is a state of electricity. When you are writing a book and you are writing for a long time until you notice the time has passed, there is a state of electricity. Studies show us that leaders in flow management are significantly more productive than those who are not. The same goes for startups. So what's the flow? In essence, it feels different. Another mental condition is triggered by the release of hormones and neurotransmitters. In this case, it is a subtle variation in flight resistance or response, a subtle variation in stress and panic. Here you think that something as important as preventing you from getting hurt is as annoying as fighting for your life, but it's also fun rather than scary. You have the attention of your whole body and mind, which causes the release of stimulating hormones along with sedatives and those associated with happiness such as anandamida. This actually inhibits activity in the prefrontal cortex and triggers a condition known as temporary hypofrontality. It prevents us from worrying, from guessing anything, or from thinking about. It is the opposite of how most of us live life today, which is why many of us are filled with anxiety, frozen in fear. Imagine having a man talk at a bar and have your funny talk ever. Imagine being able to speak in front of an audience with passion and belief and completely wrap them up in what you say. Imagine being able to work on projects that matter to you for hours without looking at them. Fearless. No doubt. No outbursts of anger or unpleasant feelings. And this is where our best work is done. This is when we are happiest. Many people try to live their lives in the flow as much as possible. The problem is that most of us are full of anxiety and busy with the tasks and things we need to do. These limitations leave us anxious, and busy, and they are no longer in the mind. Our whole body and mind may not be synchronized when we are worried about debt or what our boss says in the office. Submitting flow means that at the moment you are not only happy and confident, but it also makes you unstoppable. Creativity. Transforming your feelings can make you more creative. The opposite of a flow state is something called the default state network. It is a network of areas of the brain that rotate when engaged in fatigue in repetitive tasks or when just relaxing. This is what happens when you allow yourself to be completely calm and let your mind wander. Now many people give this state of mentality a hard time. They say this is when your inner Woody Allen is running. This is the opposite of living in the moment. But in fact, this is also when your creativity begins. This was the state Einstein had when he came up with his special theory of relativity while working in a patent office. It's daydreaming, and that's when we have plans, ideas, and more. No emotion is a bad thing. The answer is that only the right feeling can be used at the right time. It is about emotional control. Use social skills, and finally, the clear definition of emotion, social well-being. If you want to be confident, stop worrying about what others are thinking. If you want to be a leader, you must take command, not second-guess yourself, and not be bothered and clearly riled when things go wrong. If you want to interact with others and make friends and partners, you must be charismatic, engaging, and entertaining. All of these things are again based on having control over your feelings, but the thing is, most of us are out of control. Most of us take a break when we don't have a good day and have fun. Most of us fear when things go wrong. When we are stressed, we discuss with our partners and avoid important office work. We sabotage ourselves, throw ourselves down, and struggle to do everything because we can't control our feelings. Controlled. So how do you control your feelings? There are many ways, but let's discuss two important points: physiology and mindset. Physiology refers to the fact that your emotions are really an extension of how you feel. Emotions describe things like happiness, sadness, anger, fear. We think these feelings are born out of our minds, but most of the time, that's not the case. Instead, emotions come from our bodies. Emotions are derived from emotions that include things like hunger, stress, hot, cold. The very function of your emotions is to trigger behaviors that help you resolve your feelings. If you haven't been eating enough recently, your blood sugar will drop. This in turn induces a release of cortisol, the stress hormone. You are told that something needs to change and wake you up, and by this you will be encouraged to look for food. When you eat, your blood sugar burns, you make leptin and serotonin. It makes you happy and satisfied and eventually encourages you to sleep. Eventually, serotonin changes the melatonin hormone of sleep. So in other words, what you feel is often the result of your physiology and it changes your thinking. Do you think you're angry because you're having a bad day? Optional. You probably had a bad day because you were angry. And you're angry because you didn't sleep. You have a mild illness. You are not eating enough. You eat the wrong things. Did you get a gist? So one way to control your feelings and to transform them is to acknowledge them. First, you need to recognize that if you are angry, it may be due to physiological causes and will be eliminated. At least it wasn't bad later. Second, it seeks to change it. Eat something. Sleep. Get a cue. Learn to follow your own rhythm and work when you are naturally most productive. Follow the rhythms of the day and check your bikes during the day. And look at ways to control your physiology directly. The best way? Stop. If you learn to breathe properly, using shortness of breath to fill the lower lungs, then the upper part, and if you use slow, controlled breathing, you will be able to reduce your heart rate and calm your whole body. This will change your parasympathetic tone, releasing you to fight or flight and to relax and digest. Try it the next time you feel stressed, overly competitive, or working out after an intense workout. Your heartbeat is calm and your mind calm. The other tool you can use is something called CBT. Now we look at the psychological aspect, self-talk. CBT means cognitive behavioral therapy and is a popular form of psychotherapeutic intervention used to treat phobias and other anxiety disorders. The idea is to look at the content of your thoughts and hereby control your state of mentality. The self-talk you give yourself to work yourself into panic or to calm yourself down. If you think of things like, "I'm worried I might fall off the ledge," you're obviously scared. If you think of things like, "I'm grateful to my husband," you're more likely to be unhappy with where you are in life. It's deeper than that, of course. You can use CBT to challenge long-term beliefs and to break negative self-talk habits by challenging your thoughts and testing your hypotheses. This is called cognitive restructuring. In the short term, you can use CBT techniques to more accurately assess your state of mind and emotions and then change the way you look. So if you are stressed that you have a deadline that you do not meet and are ruining your night, you can use cognitive restructuring to assess the thoughts that are causing you stress and replace them more productively. For example, you might consider, what is the point of stress? Will it improve things? What's the worst-case scenario? Is it too bad to tell the boss that you can't finish the job on time? Do they still belong to you too much? When was the last time you did this? Are there other ways you can reduce blows? What would you rather be aware of now? Combine this with controlled breathing and bring your focus to what is most useful to you today. In the long run, you can use CBT to bridge your thoughts and your physiology. You see, your physiology and your emotions are designed to push you toward that desirable state: sex, food, shelter, love, success, social acceptance. The problem is that the tasks you need often will not get you these things in the short term. In the long run, entering spreadsheet data will help you keep your job, help you pay for food, and keep your family safe. But in the short run, it just means more tedious paperwork. So now you have to remind yourself why you do what you do. And you do it not just in words, but in retrospect. Think about where you want to be. Imagine the wealth you want, success, satisfaction. Then remind yourself that the things you do now really lead you to the things you want. This is when your heart and mind are finally on the same page. And that's when it's possible.